G'day Bomber fans, it feels like we've been here before. It seems a common theme that milestone games for captains just end in pain for all associated with the red and black. I didn't even know you could get such a big crowd out for an open training session in Geelong. It was a painful game, so it's going to be a painful review today. Before I start, leave your player of the match votes down below. Good luck finding 3 players to honour, and stay tuned till the end to hear about Manscaped. So the game started in ominous fashion. It was deja vu. Last time they came out firing at the G, killed us with their pressure around contests, destroyed us on the scoreboard, didn't let us gain territory or hold the ball, and the same thing happened here. They strangled us, they embarrassed us, they had our defence working on overtime and had fans tuning out early. It was genuinely putrid footy. We were ugly to watch and they were ferocious. They really are a ruthless side. They kill teams early, especially at home, and they did that to us, piling on 7 first quarter goals to just 1 Essendon point. The first time we've been held goalless at quarter time this year, I think. They surrounded the contest and it meant our kicking efficiency was shocking. Halfway through that first, we were going at about 30% by foot. They had much more of the footy than us because of this, scored heavily from turnovers. It was one-way footy. There was no pressure from us, no class. It was embarrassing. It was a Saturday night training drill. The second quarter was a bit better. We won the term, but if you win a quarter and trail by over 7 goals, it doesn't really mean much. We got some fight back in the contest, but couldn't capitalise. They were content with the way the game was being played. It would have been a promising term if we managed to maintain the standard and win more of the battle later on, but as we all know, we couldn't. That was our momentary bright spark for the game, didn't last too long. The third term saw a resume of ordinary events. They were killing us as they were in the first. We were actually lucky in a lot of ways, I think. I don't reckon this was one of those unlucky nights where we found things going their way at all times. We had the umps on our side. Geelong were blowing opportunities. We should have been close to 100 points down at 3/4 time. Genuinely should have. That's not an exaggeration. We were nowhere. They were having fun with us, playing with their food. They definitely had some room left in the tank by the end. The last quarter, I don't know how many of us really watched it. I think we all zoned out a bit there, daydreamed of a finals victory. We got some goals back, but neither side was really doing anything in that last term. Jeremy Cameron was mucking around. It was schoolyard footy. I think the Cats felt bad for us. Chris told his troops to settle down or he would be grounded for treating his brother so poorly. So let's get into the nitty gritty. Where did we lose this game of footy? It's a tough question with a game this one-sided. I want to say everywhere because we were hopeless, but I should highlight the specific areas I have found most glaring. Hard to narrow it down, but we have to start with our start. We were abysmal. We were dead on arrival. Even if we managed 3 good quarters, we weren't winning. That first term set us up to fail, and it was off the back of effort, or lack thereof, I should say. We were just not up to the contest from the start. The boys were scared, always on the back foot. A stat that never bodes well is less ball and less tackles. That not only shows a lack of ascendancy, but a lack of care. We had less possession than Geelong and less tackles. That is woeful. I hate seeing that stat line. It is embarrassing. It's embarrassing as a fan when you have a team 80 points up, showing more effort than the boys literally playing for spots in the team. The lack of effort was alarming. They controlled the ground so effortlessly. We weren't able to play our uncontested marking game. It helps when you have a ground as skinny as Cadinia, but we only had 80 odd marks and they never let us up the field. They had 64 inside 50s. We had just 28. 28 inside 50s for a game after having 40 and a half the week before. That just shows we do not know what to do when our game plan does not work. It's a good learning curve and a good opportunity for us to add more strings to our bow for the future though. We didn't get much of the ball, but when we did, it was wasted. It was comical at times how well we laced out balls to Tom Stewart or their other defenders. It wasn't even their defenders all the time. We were turning the ball over everywhere around the ground. In fact, they scored over 100 of their points from turnovers, which is just appalling. It is alarming to concede that much from turnovers. I think I heard the commentators say it was the 3rd most a team has conceded from them all year. That was with time left, so it could have been more by the end, but it was both a combination of their intense pressure and our lack of game sense that resulted in the 82 turnovers we applied. They were fantastic. I want to give some credit to Geelong here. This is the 2022 Geelong. Ruthless, scary football. You do not want to play them when they play like this. They choke you, they tie you up, they make you watch as they pile on goals. It's brutal. I think this game does say more about them as a side than it does for us, that they can do this to what has been a consistently competitive team all year. Credit where credit is due. Geelong were unreal. Scott said after the game that they are the best team we have played, and I agree. No team has shut us out so effectively twice. Speaking of Scott, I want to say that we were a bit unreactive. We came out trying to play a game style suited to wide grounds, and when it didn't work, we were slow to shuffle magnets or implement changes. It's hard to coach when a game is one-sided like that, but I felt like more could have been done to stem the flow, in my unprofessional opinion at least. I'm just disappointed. There's probably less structure to this review than usual, and I think that is fitting. It correlates with the team's performance all over the place. We were genuinely shocking, no sweetening it. This was a wake-up call. We looked second-rate for the first time all year, and I hate that. I hate that we weren't competitive because we have been all year. We just weren't in the contest from the get-go at all. We were shocking. Let me just go through some stats to upset us all. 28 inside 50s is just really bad. That is appalling. 4 contested marks to 15, 5 marks inside 50, 13 intercept marks to 25 despite having so much less of the ball, 10 players with kicking efficiency of 50% or less. Hawkins kicked 5 more goals against us. He has 27 from his last 5 matches against the Dons, I believe, something like that. But I think the one that says it all, our end score of 7 goals 3 is less than their first quarter tally of 7 goals 5. That's just hard to read. It's hard to say out loud. It's really not what you want to be talking about as a fan. Are there any positives to take from this game? I guess it's a good learning curve. And also, Nick Bryan looked all right in his first proper game. He has played a few games, but never as the sole ruck, and he held his own here. He is still a bit lean, gets bodied a bit by bigger bodies, but he had a positive impact, which is more than what you can say for pretty much over half the team. That's probably the only thing I liked about this game, if I'm being honest with you. I struggled to find positives to talk about it. There are plenty of players who could find themselves under pressure come selection night, especially after some more VFL performances. I'll talk about team news for the Dogs game in my preview, but Wiedemann has gone goalless again. He was moved to defense again late in the game. He wasn't as bad as he had been in previous weeks, but it's a low bar. I thought Caldwell played his worst game of the year. It was another tough week for Stringer, who looks out of sorts, but of course there's also the question of Laverty's fitness after his injury, but in general, there were plenty of players with no impact. Not many had a positive impact on the game, but I do have to try and find 3 players to give votes to somehow. So my votes, leave yours in down below. It's impossible to pick 3 really. I'll give 1 to Dyson Heppel. He has probably been our most consistent performer as of late. He had a real crack as he has all year. A few intercepts, generally used the ball better than most. 2 votes to Laverty. I know he only played 60% of the game, something like that, but he was our best when he was on. But Ben Hobbs, 3 votes. I just think he was the only one who could hold his head high, knowing he gave absolutely all that he possibly could. The kid digs in. It was a real mature performance on a losing team. Some players unlucky to miss out on votes, not many really, but Nick Bryan was actually up there in my mind. So too was Andy McGrath and Darcy Parish. I just think most of the team had down nights. I can't really justify having a midfielder other than Hobbs. I can't really justify having a forward because the ball was barely down there. It was mostly defenders. Ridley was alright. BCT had 4 or 5 intercept marks. Durham and Perkins battled hard but were wasteful. So leave your votes in down below. I'm sure we'll see a very wide variety of them. So that is that. Sorry if the review is a bit crappy. I'm only matching the energy given by the boys, but it's not done yet because we have some Manscaped to talk about. I had to do something to distract myself from the loss, so I shaved my nut. Thank you, Manscaped. If you guys want to try it out, just head over to manscaped.com, enter in my discount code EverythingEssendon20, and you can save 20% off plus free shipping. Cheers, Dons fans.